How do the signs of factors affect their product? Think about this question during the lesson. While playing a board game, unlucky Lawrence had to move back 2 spaces for 4 turns in a row. What integer represents his change in position? You can use a number line to represent the change in position on the game board. 0 represents the starting position. What integer can you use to represent the number of spaces Lawrence had to move back each turn?
Select your answer.
Then you count back 2 ticks for each of the 4 moves. The total change in position on the board is 4 times -2. Why is -2 plus -2 plus -2 plus -2 equal to 4 times -2? Repeated addition is the same as multiplication. The total change in position on the board is -8. Lawrence had to move back 8 spaces. You can use the additive inverses and zero property of multiplication to write a multiplication problem. 4 times the quantity, -2 plus 2, equals 0. 4 times -2 plus 4 times 2 equals 0. 4 times -2 plus 8 equals 0. So what plus 8 equals 0? You know that opposites add to 0. So -8 plus 8 equals 0. Therefore, 4 times -2 is -8. A rule for multiplication of integers is positive times negative equals negative. Now you have rules for how the sign of a product is related to the signs of the 2 factors.
A race car game takes 6 points from a player each time the player hits a cone. What integer represents the change in total points if the player hits 10 cones?
So, if the player hits 6 cones, hits a cone, they get 6 points. So, if they hit 10 cones, how many points is that? So, we would have to do 10 times the 6 points, because there's 6 points for each time. So 10 times 6 is 60, and the change in total points is 60. But what we have to remember is that the game takes the 6 points away. So because they're taking the 6 points away, that means that our 6 is going to have to be negative, which means -6 times 10 is going to give us -60. So the total change in points will be those -60 points.
What is the balloon's change in elevation in 3 minutes?
Write an expression to represent the change in elevation. So if we see here, there is -500 because the balloon descends, which means it goes down 500 feet in a minute. So they want to know how far the balloon descends in 3 minutes. So -500 times 3 would be 1500, but because there is a negative there, our answer is negative 300. Here they show you it on a number line. You start at the 0, and then it keeps going backwards, negative 500 feet. So you see the descension all the way to negative 1,500. You can generalize that for multiplying integers, if it's a negative times a positive, it will always equal a negative.
Part A. Use a number line to represent negative 3 times negative 10.
So here we see the negative 10. We start at 0. We go back 3 times because we're multiplying negative 3. And because it's negative, we're going to the left. So we go back 3 times negative 10. So negative 10 times 3 is equal to negative 30. Negative, they just rewrote it where the negative is on the outside. You have 3 times the negative 10 in parentheses. So the opposite of 3 times negative 10, that's what the opposite will be. And then negative 3 times negative 10 is equal to 30 because they are both negative. So opposites are the same distance from 0, but on opposite sides of 0. Part B.
Part B. Use multiplication and properties of operations to show why negative 3 times negative 10 equals 30.
Use additive inverses and the zero property of multiplication to write a multiplication problem. So we have negative 3 times negative 10 plus a positive 10 equals 0 because a negative and a positive will counteract and equal 0. Then we have the distributive property where we take the negatives. So negative 3 times negative 10 plus the negative 3 and positive 10. And that will be negative 30. That will also be negative 30, which still equals 0. So negative times the positive is equal to negative. We have negative 3 times negative 10 plus negative 30 will also equal 0. So the opposites add to 0. So 30 plus negative 30 is equal to 0. Negative 3 times negative 10 is equal to 30. So a rule for multiplying or multiplication of integers is negative times negative is equal to positive.
Find each product.
So we'll do 2 of these. So we have, first one is a negative 7 times negative 2. As we just learned, a negative times a negative is equal to a positive. So 7 times 2 is 14. So that's the answer for A. B is 7 times negative 13. We learned from example 1, when you have a negative times a positive, your answer will be negative. So 13 times 7 is negative 91. Okay, and the last 2 I think you can handle on your own.